Silent watchers. The quantum detection array beneath Europa's ice sheets had been running for 70 years when it captured the first distress beacon. Dr. Elena Santos stood in the monitoring chamber, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display as the signal's pattern became clearer. This wasn't the usual background chatter of trading vessels or military patrols that humanity had been secretly monitoring for decades. This was different. Analysis complete, announced HFY, the station's eye. Signal matches known patterns of automated distress beacons used by slave transport vessels in the Orion Arm. Elena's jaw tightened. In the 30 years since humanity had first detected alien civilizations, they had watched in growing horror as they discovered the true nature of galactic society. Slavery wasn't just common, it was institutionalized, with entire species categorized as suitable for servitude by the dominant powers. "Show me the vessel's trajectory," Elena commanded. The hologram shifted, displaying a red line cutting through the three-dimensional map of local space. The transport was running dark, using minimal power, likely trying to escape pursuit. Distance to Sol system boundary. Approximately 47 hours at current velocity, HFY responded. The vessel appears to be damaged. Life support systems are failing. Elena accessed her neural link to the Sentinel program's secure network. Within seconds, the faces of the other department heads appeared in her mind's eye. Quantum-encrypted transmissions allowing instantaneous communication, despite the vast distances between Earth's hidden facilities. "We have a situation," she began. "A slave transport is about to cross into our space. They're running from something, and they're dying." Admiral Chen's avatar frowned. "The containment protocols are clear, Doctor. We cannot risk exposure." "With respect, Admiral, this isn't about protocols anymore." Elena pushed a data packet through the link, sharing the sensor readings. "We're picking up 43 distinct life signs. Multiple species, including 3 we've never encountered before. They're not just slaves, they're refugees." Director Zhang's avatar flickered as he joined the conversation. The Sentinel program was established to protect Earth, not to intervene in galactic affairs. "We're not ready for open contact, aren't we?" Elena challenged. "Our quantum technology is centuries ahead of anything we've observed. Our AI systems are generations beyond their crude computing networks. We've had 70 years to prepare, to watch, to learn. How many more species do we need to see enslaved before we decide we're ready?" The silence stretched across the quantum link. They all knew the statistics. In the past 3 decades, humanity had documented over 200 cases of species being uplifted by the galactic powers, only to be classified as servant races and forced into labor camps across thousands of worlds. Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly. "Even if we wanted to help, Doctor, we'd be declaring ourselves to the galaxy. There would be no going back. Maybe it's time." Elena pulled up another hologram, this one showing Earth's hidden fleet. Nestled in underground bases across the solar system were ships that combined human innovation with decades of studying alien technology. "We've built these vessels for a reason. We've trained our crews, developed our weapons, all while telling ourselves it was just for defense. But what if this is why we're really here? What if this is our moment to show the galaxy a different way?" Director Zhang raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting we reveal ourselves by rescuing a single slave transport." "I'm suggesting we start with one transport," Elena corrected. "But we don't stop there. We've mapped every major slave market in this sector. We know their patrol routes, their defense systems, their weaknesses. We could free thousands, maybe millions. The political ramifications would be enormous." Admiral Chen mused, but Elena could see the shift in her expression. The Admiral had always been a strategist, and now she was calculating possibilities rather than just risks. The major powers would be forced to respond. "Good." Elena's voice was steel. "Let them respond. Let them finally face a force that doesn't accept their natural order. Let them deal with humans, The quantum link hummed with tension as the leadership considered the implications. Decades of preparation, of hiding, of watching, all of it leading to this moment. A choice between continued safety in shadows or a bold step into the light. "We'll need to consult with the council," Director Zhang said finally. "The transport has 45 hours of life support remaining," Elena reminded them. "These aren't just statistics anymore. They're lives. Lives we can save." Admiral Chen's avatar straightened. "I'll speak to the council personally. Dr. Santos, begin preparations for a potential rescue operation. If we're going to do this, we do it right. We show them exactly who they're dealing with." As the quantum link dissolved, Elena turned back to the holographic display. The transport's distress beacon continued its faint pulse, a cry for help in the darkness between stars. Humanity had hidden for so long, building their strength, waiting for the right moment. Perhaps this wasn't just about saving one ship. Perhaps this was about saving the soul of a galaxy that had forgotten the meaning of compassion. "Araya," she commanded, "begin analysis of all possible rescue scenarios, and activate the Helios." Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a cavern hidden from even the most advanced alien scanning technology, lights began to come on. The Helios was humanity's masterpiece, a ship that combined their most advanced innovations, quantum drives that could cross light years in days, AI systems that could outthink entire alien fleet networks, and weapons that could either disable a ship without harming its crew or reduce a battle cruiser to atoms. As Elena watched the preparation sequence begin, she felt rising storm. News of the mysterious ship that had challenged Drachnid authority spread through the consortium's quantum networks like wildfire. In the great trading hubs and slave markets, rumors flew of impossible technology and stark warnings. Some dismissed it as traders' tales. Others began to worry. They were right to worry. 3 weeks after the Helios's first intervention, the consortium's largest slave processing center in the Rigel sector simply disappeared. One moment, the massive station was processing thousands of newly captured servile species. The next, it vanished, along with every slave ship docked at its berths. The only thing left behind was a repeating message in all known languages. "Freedom is a right, not a privilege. Earth stands with the oppressed." In her new office aboard Ganymede Command, Elena Santos reviewed the after-action reports with satisfaction. The quantum translocation of an entire station had been a calculated risk, but the message it sent was worth it. The freed slaves were already being integrated into the hidden network of sanctuary worlds humanity had prepared over the decades. Director Santos, Araya's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Admiral Chen requests your presence in the Strategic Command Center." The command center was a marvel of human engineering, its quantum displays showing real-time information from thousands of covered sensors scattered throughout known space. Admiral Chen stood at the central platform, studying the shifting patterns of consortium fleet movements. "They're mobilizing," Chen said without preamble. "The Drachnids have convinced 3 other major species to form a joint task force. They're calling it the Stability Preservation Force." Elena analyzed the fleet patterns. How many ships? Over 2,000, gathering in the Orion Spur. They're planning to sweep through this entire sector of space until they find us. Let them search. Elena's smile held no warmth. Meanwhile, Phase 2 can begin. Phase 2 had been decades in the planning. While the Helios and its sister ships drew attention with dramatic rescues, smaller stealth vessels would infiltrate hundreds of slave worlds simultaneously. The quantum entanglement drives they carried were simple enough for the liberated slaves to operate, preset coordinates that would bring them to safety. "The consortium still doesn't understand what they're dealing with," Chen observed. "They think we're just another upstart civilization with a few technological advantages. They haven't grasped that we've been watching them for 70 years, learning their weaknesses, preparing counters for every weapon and tactic they possess. And their greatest weakness," Elena added, "is their absolute certainty in their own superiority. They cannot imagine that a species they never detected could have surpassed them so completely. The quantum displays flickered as new data arrived. The Drachnid-led task force had begun its sweep, their ships moving in a precise search pattern. They were hunting for signs of advanced technology, gravitational anomalies, anything that might lead them to Earth. They were looking in exactly the wrong places. Launch the Liberation Fleet, Elena commanded. Full dispersal pattern. It's time to show them that we're not hiding anymore. Across the solar system, hidden bases activated. Ships that had trained for years in secret emerged from their berths. Some were large like the Helios, designed for direct confrontation. Others were small and stealthy, perfect for infiltration missions. All of them carried technology that would seem like magic to the consortium. The Liberation Fleet didn't bother with stealth as they quantum tunneled into normal space. 300 ships appeared simultaneously across 50 sectors, each targeting a different slave facility. The consortium's grand fleet, gathered to hunt down a single mysterious vessel, suddenly found itself facing an armada that simply hadn't existed the day before. Multiple quantum events detected, Araya reported. Liberation operations commencing across all targeted sectors. On hundreds of worlds, slaves looked up to see ships appearing in their skies, bringing not conquest but freedom. The quantum entanglement drives were distributed by stealth teams that moved like ghosts through security systems. Within hours, entire populations simply vanished, transported to sanctuary worlds where they could begin new lives as free beings. The consortium's response was predictably brutal and predictably useless. Their weapons passed harmlessly through quantum-shifted hulls. Their shields meant nothing to weapons that struck from dimensions they couldn't even detect. Their mighty fleet found itself in a war it couldn't fight against an enemy it couldn't hurt. But it wasn't Earth's technology that truly terrified them. It was the message spreading through the ranks of their slave armies, through the servants in their homes, through the workers in their factories. There is hope. There is a power that sees you as people, not property. Freedom is possible. Admiral Chen watched the tactical displays with the satisfaction of a strategy decades in the making finally unfolding. The Drachnids have recalled their fleet to defend their core worlds. They think we'll attack their centers of power next. But that was never the plan, was it? Elena's question was rhetorical. They both knew that humanity's goal wasn't conquest, it was liberation. Let the consortium waste resources fortifying their capitals. The real revolution was already spreading through their society, one freed slave at a time. Director Santos, ARIA interrupted. Priority message from the Helios. They've made contact with the underground. Elena's eyes widened slightly. The underground, a mythical network of resistance fighters from various species, working in secret to undermine the slave trade. Humanity had detected signs of their existence, but had never made direct contact. Put them through, she ordered. It's time to unite those who fight for freedom. The galaxy was changing, faster than anyone had predicted. Humanity had hidden in the shadows, preparing for this moment. Now they would show the consortium that superior technology wasn't their only advantage. They had something far more powerful. The burning human desire to right a wrong, to fight injustice, to stand up for those who couldn't stand for themselves. The storm of liberation was rising, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. Shadows unite. The meeting took place on a rogue planet deep in uncharted space, its location known only to a select few. Inside a quantum-shielded chamber aboard the Helios, Captain Sarah Chen faced the leadership of the underground for the first time. They were a striking group, representatives from 12 different species, each bearing the subtle marks of their struggles. A Talaxian with ritual scars denoting escaped slavery. A Ven scholar whose crystalline form had been damaged during their flight to freedom. An enormous Krathor warrior whose cybernetic enhancements told of countless battles. Their leader was unexpected. A Drachnid. Her scales were midnight black, her eyes holding wisdom earned through pain. I am Zura, she said simply. Once, I was a slave master's daughter. Now, I fight to undo the evil my people have wrought." "We've been watching your resistance for decades," Sarah replied, "but we never imagined that one of the oppressors would lead the opposition." Zara's laugh was bitter. "The consortium's greatest weakness is their belief that their dominance is natural, ordained. They cannot imagine that their own children might reject their twisted vision." The underground had spent generations building their network, slowly sabotaging slave operations, helping small groups escape when possible. But they had never had the power to challenge the consortium directly, until now. "Our resources are at your disposal," Sarah offered. "Ships, weapons, sanctuary worlds." "We need more than weapons," the Venn scholar interrupted, their crystalline form refracting light as they spoke. "We need hope. Your arrival has sparked something we've never seen before, belief that the system can actually fall." Back on Earth, the Council of Nations convened in their secure chamber beneath the Himalayas. The holographic feeds showed the spread of rebellion across consortium space. Slave revolts were erupting on hundreds of worlds, inspired by humanity's example. The underground's network was growing exponentially as more slaves dared to resist. But the consortium was far from defeated. Their response to the growing chaos was brutal and overwhelming. Entire cities were purged on worlds where slaves had risen up. Example executions were broadcast across their networks. They meant to teach a lesson about the price of defiance. They didn't understand that their cruelty only proved humanity right. "The Drachnids have activated their doomsday protocols," Admiral Chen reported grimly. "They're threatening to destroy any world where slaves revolt, including the civilian populations of their own people." Elena Santos, watching from Ganymede Command, felt her jaw tighten. "They would murder billions to maintain control. They would murder trillions," Zara's hologram interrupted, her form materializing in the command center. "My people believe their dominance is divine right. They will burn the galaxy before accepting equality." The quantum displays showed the movement of consortium death fleets, massive battleships carrying planet-killer weapons. They were heading toward worlds where rebellion had taken root, prepared to make examples that would echo through history. But humanity had planned for this too. "Execute Operation Sanctuary," Elena commanded. "All ships, initiate mass translocation protocols." Across contested space, human vessels activated their most powerful quantum systems. The technology that had allowed them to transport the Rigel slave station was scaled up to something unprecedented. The simultaneous evacuation of entire planetary populations. The consortium death fleets arrived at their targets to find empty worlds. Billions of beings, slaves and sympathetic civilians alike, had simply vanished, transported to sanctuary worlds through quantum tunneling on a scale that defied comprehension. In the quantum-shielded chamber, Zara watched the reports with a mixture of awe and hope. "You didn't just prepare to fight them," she realized. "You prepared to save everyone they would try to kill in retaliation." "Humanity learned its own harsh lessons about the price of hatred," Sarah replied softly. "We spent decades ensuring we would never have to choose between victory and salvation." The underground's leaders shared looks of dawning understanding. Humanity's technology wasn't just advanced. It had been specifically developed to wage a war of liberation while protecting the innocent. Every innovation, every tactical system, was designed not just to defeat the consortium but to save its victims. The Old One spoke of a prophecy. The Krathor warrior rumbled, his cybernetic eyes glowing. That the galaxy's chains would be broken by those who came from beyond the dark, bringing both thunder and mercy. "We're not prophesied saviors," Sarah said firmly. "We're simply people who couldn't watch suffering and do nothing. But with your knowledge of the consortium, your connections to the slave populations, and our technology," she let the implication hang. The underground leaders didn't need further convincing. The alliance was formalized within hours, combining humanity's technological might with the underground's vast network of resistance cells. A new phase of the war was about to begin. But in the depths of consortium space, the Drachnid leadership was preparing to unleash weapons they had kept hidden for millennia. If they could not maintain control through fear, they would resort to horrors not seen since their ancestors first seized power. The true test of humanity's resolve, and their commitment to saving lives while winning the war, was about to begin. Ancient nightmares. The warning came from deep within Drachnid space. One of Zora's agents, embedded in their ancestral archives, managed to transmit a single quantum burst before being discovered. The data was fragmentary, corrupted, but what it revealed chilled even the most hardened veterans of the Liberation War. The World Breakers, Zora explained to the combined Human Underground Council. Her holographic form trembled slightly. They're actually real. I always thought they were myths, stories to frighten children. The quantum displays in Ganymede Command showed the archaeological data. Massive artificial structures, buried beneath the surfaces of dead worlds at the galaxy's edge. Weapons platforms created by the first Drachnid Empire, sealed away when even they feared their power. Multiple quantum signatures detected in the Carina sector, Araya announced. The consortium is activating them. All of them. Elena Santos watched the readings with growing horror. The World Breakers were worse than planet killers. They were reality warpers, designed to tear apart the fundamental forces that bound matter together. A single platform could render an entire system uninhabitable. The consortium was preparing to unleash dozens. They're insane, Admiral Chen breathed. These weapons won't just kill their enemies. They'll make entire regions of space permanently uninhabitable. They'll create dead zones that could last millions of years. They believe they're gods, Zara replied bitterly. If they cannot rule the galaxy, they would rather break it. But humanity had not spent 70 years studying the cosmos without learning its deepest secrets. As the World Breakers awakened, as their ancient machines began their deadly countdown, Earth's greatest project was already in motion. Deep beneath Europa's ice, in chambers that made the Helios' construction bay look tiny, the Cosmos-class vessels waited. They were less ships than mobile space-time manipulation platforms, built to interface directly with the quantum fabric of reality. Launch the Guardians, Alina commanded. All ships, all crews. This is what we built them for. The ice of Europa cracked as the first Cosmos-class ship rose. The adamant dawn was 15 kilometers long, its hull composed of materials that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. It was followed by its sisters, the stellar shield, the light of tomorrow, the human spirit, and the eternal hope. Each ship carried a crew of thousands, not just humans, but representatives from every species they had freed, all linked through quantum networks that allowed them to process information and react at speeds that bordered on precognition. The consortium sensors detected the massive vessels too late. The adamant dawn quantum tunneled into the Carina sector, just as the first World Breaker platform activated. Reality itself buckled as the ancient weapon unleashed its power, only to be caught and contained by fields generated by the human vessel. Impossible. The Drachnid High Command watched in disbelief as their ultimate weapons were systematically neutralized. The Cosmos-class ships didn't just stop the World Breakers. They absorbed their energy, redirecting it into contained quantum matrices. But the ancient weapons had one final surprise. As the last platforms were neutralized, they released a signal, a quantum key that activated something even older, even deadlier. Multiple temporal anomalies detected. Araya's voice held an edge of concern. Something is emerging from subspace across all contested sectors. They rose from the void like ghosts, ships of impossible design, wreathed in energies that hurt to look at. The true masters of the Drachnids, the species that had uplifted them millions of years ago and taught them to enslave others. The precursors had returned. This was their failsafe, Zara realized, her scales pale with shock. If their servant races ever lost control, if the weapons they left behind failed, they would return to restore their version of order. The precursor ships made the World Breakers look primitive by comparison. Their weapons reached through time itself, erasing their targets from history. Their shields existed partially in other dimensions, making them seemingly invulnerable. But humanity had prepared for this too, though they had never known exactly what they were preparing for. All ships, initiate Protocol Omega. Elena's voice was steady despite the enormity of what they faced. Activate the quantum consciousness networks. Show them that humanity's greatest strength was never our technology. Across the combined fleet, crews joined their minds through the quantum networks. Not just humans, but every species that had joined their cause. Billions of minds linked together, processing information at speeds that dwarfed even the precursor's temporal technology. The true battle for the galaxy's soul was about to begin, not just between ships and weapons, but between fundamentally different visions of what sentient life could be. The precursor's doctrine of domination and control versus humanity's promise of freedom and unity. The quantum displays showed the two fleets approaching each other. On one side, the ancient masters of the galaxy, wielding power that could rewrite time. On the other, the combined forces of those who believed in freedom, led by a species that had hidden and watched and prepared for a moment they had never been certain would come. Humanity had promised the galaxy freedom. Now they would prove that promise wasn't just empty words. Dawn of tomorrow. The battle began across 1,000 light-years simultaneously. The precursor ships struck first, their temporal weapons reaching through the fourth dimension to erase their targets from existence. But the quantum-linked consciousness of the combined fleet was already adapting, learning, evolving. Every person connected to the network, human, Talaxian, Ven, Krathor, and dozens of other species, contributed their unique perspectives and insights. The human gift for innovation merged with the Ven's grasp of crystalline mathematics, the Krathor's strategic instincts, and the accumulated wisdom of countless cultures. They don't understand what they're fighting, Elin observed from her neural interface within the network. They see us as separate species, separate ships. They don't realize we've become something entirely new. The Cosmos-class ships moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum fields interlocking to create defensive patterns that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. When the precursors tried to erase a ship from history, they found that its consciousness remained distributed across the entire fleet, allowing it to reform. Your resistance is meaningless. The first transmission from the precursors thundered across all frequencies. Their language was ancient, but the translation matrices decoded it instantly. We uplifted the galaxy from chaos. We created order. We are its rightful masters. No, the response came not from any one person, but from the unified consciousness of the fleet. You created slavery. You taught fear. You built an empire on suffering and called it order. But you never imagined that those you sought to rule would learn to work together. The adamant dawn led the counterattack, its quantum matrices reconfigured by the collective intelligence of billions of minds. The ship phase shifted between moments in time, matching the precursor's temporal maneuvers while executing strategies conceived and refined in nanoseconds by the unified consciousness. But the ancient beings were powerful, their technology honed over millions of years. They began targeting the quantum networks themselves, trying to shatter the connections between minds. Ships started falling out of sync, their crews struggling to maintain the neural links. In that moment of crisis, humanity revealed their final secret. Execute Protocol Genesis, Elena commanded. The order rippled through the fleet, activating systems that had been hidden within the quantum cores of every ship. Not weapons, but something far more powerful. The accumulated knowledge of 70 years, studying the quantum nature of consciousness itself. The neural network didn't just reform, it transcended. The consciousness of every being in the fleet merged not just with each other, but with the quantum substrate of spacetime itself. They became aware of reality on a fundamental level, seeing the strings of creation that the precursors manipulated but had never truly understood. Impossible. The precursor ships recoiled as their temporal weapons were not just blocked, but reversed. The unified consciousness of the fleet reached through time and space, unraveling the ancient beings' technology with the same fundamental forces they had tried to control. You built your empire on dominance. The fleet consciousness communicated. We built our alliance on choice. You forced obedience through fear. We earned loyalty through respect. That is why you cannot win. The precursor ships began to falter as their weapons were systematically neutralized. Their attempts to erase the fleet from history were met with quantum shields that existed at all points in time simultaneously. Their dimensional technologies were countered by beings who now perceived reality in all its infinite layers. In a desperate last gambit, the precursors attempted to trigger a cascade reaction that would have torn apart the galaxy's spiral arms. But the unified fleet was ready. The Cosmos-class ships moved into formation, their quantum fields extending to create a bridge between dimensions. You sought to break the galaxy rather than lose control, the fleet consciousness proclaimed. Instead, we will show you a better way. The quantum bridge activated, opening a gateway to a dimension beyond normal spacetime. The precursor ships were drawn in, not destroyed but transported to a realm where they could harm no others, a prison of their own making, crafted from the same forces they had tried to weaponize. As the ancient threat vanished, the unified consciousness began to gently separate, allowing individual minds to reform while maintaining the connections they had forged. The galaxy would never be the same, not because of the technology they had developed or the battles they had won, but because of the bonds they had created. The Drachnid Empire, seeing their masters banished and their weapons neutralized, sued for peace. Zara led the negotiations, transforming her people's society from within. The other consortium species followed, their populations rising up to reject the ideology of slavery that had defined them for so long. 1 year later, representatives from every known species gathered on Earth, not in submission, but in celebration. The Galactic Concordat was signed, establishing principles of freedom, cooperation, and mutual respect. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had helped it heal itself. Elena stood in the Great Hall of the new Galactic Council, watching species that had once been masters and slaves now working together as equals. The quantum networks remained, not as weapons, but as bridges between minds and cultures. The technology they had developed for war now served to unite and uplift. We spent 70 years preparing for war, she mused to Admiral Chen. But in the end, our greatest victory came from teaching the galaxy about peace. Not just peace, Chen corrected, gesturing to where humans and aliens collaborated on new projects, sharing ideas and dreams. Hope. We showed them that a better future was possible. Above them, the stars shone on a galaxy transformed. The age of slavery was over. The age of unity had begun, and humanity, who had hidden for so long, now stood proudly among the stars, not as conquerors or saviors, but as friends to all who sought freedom. The story of their victory would be told for generations across countless worlds, not as a tale of superior technology or military might, but as a testament to what becomes possible when beings choose to stand together against tyranny. When the galaxy had faced its darkest hour, humanity had not just brought liberation, they had brought light. And in that light, a new dawn arose for all species, illuminating a future brighter than any had dared to imagine.